I'm a self-confessed travel junkie. You know, I used to count the number of countries that I had visited, and for some strange reason, I just stopped counting at 100. And I've been kind of thinking I need to go back and update my list because there's almost no place on earth that I haven't been that I want to go to. Now, the question that people ask me all the time is, Larry, you've been everywhere. You've done it all. You've seen it all. So what is your favorite place to visit? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to let you in on my insider travel secret of my number one favorite place on earth, where it is, and why I love it. Hi, I'm Larry Gelwix, the Getaway Guru. Welcome to my travel channel. The purpose of the Getaway Guru is to help you see the world as I have, travel more, and pay less. Now, if you're new to my travel channel, please remember the big three. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. So back to the question, Larry, what is your absolute favorite place? Well, I want something that's exotic. Everything from white sand beaches and blue ocean waters, tropical jungles, rugged mountain terrain. I want excitement. I want adventure. It's got to be a good value, wonderful shopping, great food, great cuisine, and friendly locals. Yeah, in short, I want it all. So what's my favorite place? What brings all this to me? The Legends of Siam, Southeast Asia, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. In your travels, be it close to home or far away, you're going to find places and experiences that you're going to say to yourself, you know, I could travel all that distance and see just one thing. It would have been worth the trip. The Taj Mahal in India, a sunrise and sunset in Tahiti, Machu Picchu in Peru, and the Great Migration in Kenya are certainly among those. Now, you're going to see more than just that one thing, but if that's all you saw, it is so worth the time and effort and travel. Well, I've got three more must-sees. It would be worth it if you just saw this one thing, and that is the Legends of Siam. The Grand Palace in Bangkok, Angkor Wat in Cambodia, and the mighty Mekong of Vietnam. Now, I want to share with you a recent webinar that I did, co-hosted by AmaWaterways, as we explore the Legends of Siam, sailing down, cruising down the mighty Mekong, and visiting Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia. You know, there's so many things that all of us could be doing tonight, and I am just really honored that you would join us as we talk about the Legends of Siam, Thailand, Cambodia, Angkor Wat, the mighty Mekong, and Vietnam. I'd like to introduce a dear friend, Brandon Oscarson with AmaWaterways, the business development manager. He and I will be making the presentation. It'll take about a half hour, 35 minutes. Then we'll make some comments. I want to tell you just some heart-touching stories about where we're going. So with that, Brandon, take it away.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you for putting this together. And thank you all for joining us this evening. As Larry mentioned, we're going to talk about the Mekong Delta. And what we're looking at here, this is our package that we put together. But you know what? Columbus Travel has put together a custom land package to go along with this phenomenal cruise we're going to talk about. Larry, would you share some of the pre and post options that you put together?
Well, of course, AmaWaterways 5-star deluxe over the top. Absolutely, hands down, my favorite river cruise. We'll be sailing with them in March of 2022 in Egypt. Some of you are with me. We have our Europe cruises, Oberammergau, but tonight we're focused on a 1-week cruise. I mean, this is just so crazy good. November 15 to 22, Cambodia to Vietnam. Now, we actually start in Kampong Chong, Cambodia on the 15th. And so prior to
There we go, Kampong Cham. Look at that beautiful ship. It is absolutely gorgeous, 5-star. So here's what we're offering. You can do just the cruise if you want, but you've gone that far. We will be offering a 3-night package, 4 days, 3 nights in Thailand. We'll see Bangkok, the Grand Palace, the Chao Phraya. We'll see so much. And then we'll fly to Siem Reap. Now, Siem Reap is the city that is where Angkor Wat is located. Now, Angkor Wat, just very briefly, from the 12th to the 14th century, was the most enlightened city in the world. I'll tell you more about Angkor Wat, Angkor Thom. Maybe some of you saw Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, the movie with Angelina Jolie. We'll visit that. But we have a pre-cruise Thailand and a pre-cruise Angkor Wat, Cambodia, and a lot around. It is absolutely extensive what we include. I'll go through the details at the end of the presentation. You can do Thailand and Angkor Wat or just Angkor Wat. Oh, I guess you could do Thailand, but then you got 3 days in between that. After the cruise, we offer a 2-day, 1 night in Ho Chi Minh City that most of us remember as Saigon. So if you look at the map, we will sail from Kampong Cham that you see right there down to Mai To. And Mai To is about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, depending on how many goats and chickens are on the road from Ho Chi Minh City. So we disembark in Mai To. You can go straight to the airport or stay with me for 1 night, 2 days, and then we fly home. Be home plenty of time for Thanksgiving. I will say that if you want to see Halong Bay and Hanoi, AmaWaterways has an excellent package there. We're not doing that. There's just not enough time. And I would recommend that you do Hanoi before the cruise, assuming you want to be home for Thanksgiving. So again, Columbus Travel, we have a brochure out already. You'll get a color one with Thailand, Angkor Wat, and Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. And those are our programs. And your travel advisor at Columbus can also give you the details of AMA's Hanoi program. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent. And you know what? I'm going to start off by saying, and I think you agree with me, this is one of my favorite places in the world. Southeast Asia is just spectacular. There is so much warmth. The people are so amazing, and it's so eye-opening. You're going to places where people don't have hardly anything, especially if you look at what we have here. And as a culture, they seem to be so much happier. It's a very eye-opening experience.
Sorry, I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. I'd say you're really in store for a very special life experience.
You know, I've said many times, if it weren't for my kids and grandkids, Kathy and I would be living in Thailand right now. And it's the people, the culture, the food, good value that makes it that way. You know, I was talking on my radio show the other day, and I said, you know, there are places on God's green earth that if you flew all that distance and just saw that one thing, like the Taj Mahal in Agra, India, if you went all the way to India and only saw the Taj Mahal, it would be worth the trip. Now, of course, you're going to see a lot more. Well, that's what I feel about this itinerary. The Grand Palace takes your breath away in Thailand. You cannot capture the explosion of colors. Angkor Wat, the largest religious complex in the world, is one of those. It's, oh my gosh, if you went all the way to Southeast Asia and only saw Angkor Wat or only saw Bangkok or only sailed the Mekong, it would be worth the trip. Obviously, we will be seeing a lot more.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, your trip does start in Kampong Cham, and you've got to be at the Sofitel in Siem Reap with us to get to this location because you cannot find the boat. We are literally embarking what looks like somebody's front yard. We are in a totally different part of the world here. It's interesting because you come in on your buses and there's cows off to the side and children all watching you come in. And I'll tell you, the children make this trip really special. And we'll talk more about that in a little while. But you're going to board the Amadara. And this is such a beautiful ship. I've been on a few different vessels along the Mekong. And what's so unique about the Amadara is all of your access to your staterooms and everything is indoors. To have a hallway to go to get to your staterooms and then balconies on the outside, it makes a huge difference in this part of the world because, you know what, it's a tropical terrain. It will rain sporadically. It will downpour for 5 minutes and then you have beautiful blue skies again. So there's a lot of elements that play into having a very comfortable destination to cruise on while you're with us. And when you get on board, you're greeted by our very warm and friendly staff. This is actually a friend of mine at the front desk. Her name is Me. So when you take this trip and you get on board, make sure you say hello to Me. She is very warm. She is very kind. And I'll tell you, she got the big box glasses and the giant smile. You will never, ever, ever forget her. And as you can see, we have absolutely beautiful decor on this particular vessels and also the staterooms. We want to give you accommodations that match the area that you're going through, so you get the customs and the feel of the places you're cruising through, but you also have a lot of luxury comforts on board. And with the Amadara, every single stateroom is a twin balcony, meaning you have your own private veranda you can sit out on, and you have a French balcony area if you just want to let fresh air into your stateroom. Now, my tip is, if the ship is not moving, leave the doors and windows closed. You will have mosquitoes, little bugs, things fly into your stateroom. You don't want that. However, when we're selling, it's perfectly fine to open up the doors or the windows and let that fresh air in. And like I said, as you can see, again, beautiful accommodations. Staterooms are 226 square feet. That's categories A, B, and C. When we get up into the suites, they are much larger. This is one of our luxury suites, 502 square feet, separate living and sleeping area. And with our suites on the Amadara, something we don't really advertise, there is Wi-Fi on board, but obviously you're cruising through the Mekong. There are areas where it's better and others where it's not so great. But in the suites, we put hotspots so that you always have the best possible access to the internet.
Yeah, Brandon, could you go back to the last slide, please?
Yes.
Many people ask us, Larry, what's the difference between a balcony and a French balcony? Well, here you see them both. On your left is a balcony. You see chairs, a table, you can sit out there. On the right, you see the floor to ceiling sliding glass doors. They open all the way, but the railing is like, 6, 7, 8 inches off the ship. So you can't stand on it, but you have that view. Now, some of the staterooms will have both the sitting balcony and the French balcony. Some have just the French balcony, and there's a few with what we call the fixed windows. They're kind of up above, and you really can take whatever you like. But that is the difference between the sitting balcony and the French balcony.
Excellent and good point. Absolutely. Now, we do have guests who like to stay fit and active while they travel with us. Surprisingly, the Amadara does have a fitness center, and look at the incredible view you have while you're working out. Obviously, there's not a lot in there, but there's plenty. If you like to keep up with some sort of regiment while you travel, you can absolutely stick to that while you're traveling with us. We even actually have a health coach, a certified wellness coach that does classes at 7 a.m. and 7:30 on board the Amadara. Typically in the lounge, if it's a nice morning out, you go up on the sun deck and you can do these classes. It's yoga, core training, some light stretching, resistant band training. It's a lot of fun, and it's really designed for everybody. And when I talk about the sun deck on the Amadara, you will get a lot of beautiful views like this, these sunsets that are just spectacular. One night they're purple and pink. Next night they're different shades of orange and green or gray. It is stunningly beautiful. And I will tell you, the pool on the Amadara is our most used pool out of all of our entire fleet. Obviously, we have the type of weather in this part of the world where it is always warm. So this water is always nice and warm. You're never going to step into a cool pool on this ship. And I will mention that on the Amadara, you have a bar on the sun deck and the lounge, because in this part of the world, we serve complimentary cocktails with local spirits 24/7. We also serve complimentary local beers 24/7. Wine would be complimentary with your lunch and dinner. Speaking of dinner, we definitely are going to serve you cuisine from the areas that you're cruising through. We really want you to have those cultural experiences. And I'm telling you, you're in a place where the food is absolutely outstanding. However, if you're not in the mood for the local cuisine, you can always order chicken, steak. I will tell you, they have one of the best cheeseburgers and French fries I've ever had anywhere on the Amadara. Somebody had to twist my arm to actually order it because I love the local cuisine. But when I had it, I was so happy that I did. We actually made it a custom to have fries for lunch every day because the fries were so good. But again, the food is absolutely spectacular. Now, the cuisine from the local area will be with your lunch and dinner. Breakfast, you'll find, are very standard breakfast options, but there's always an action station where you're typically going to find pho, which has become very popular in the States. And it's so popular on board the Amadara that we serve it a couple of times during the week on each of our European cruises as well now. Now, something that we are known for, and this started on our European vessels, it's our chef's table. The Amadara has a chef's table as well. This is a European style tasting. So the only thing you actually order off of a menu, it's going to be either a beef, chicken, or maybe fish or vegetarian option for your protein. Everything else just comes out. It's a multi-course meal. And to give you an idea, first we bring out 2 to 3 small hors d'oeuvres. We move on to your main course, which, like I said, can be beef, chicken, whatever you happen to select. Then we move on to 3 small desserts, and we pair this with 3 different wines throughout the evening. A lot of our guests, this is one of their favorite meals on any of our sailings that we have. It's a specialty restaurant, but it's included. There is no extra charge for this. And while you're cruising along the Mekong, you're going to have access to a lot of different types of fruit. When we are crossing over from Cambodia into Vietnam, you have a very long, relaxing day on the river. And this is perfect. It is a perfect part of the world to do this in because you have that wonderful pull up on the sun deck. But we also make sure you have activities. So one of the activities that is a lot of fun is the chefs will go up and carve up a bunch of different local fruits. And for those who are very brave, they will cut up a durian fruit and allow you to try that. For those of you who don't know, durian, it does not smell good. I will not get descriptive. I tried it. You know what? I decided, I'm here. I'm going to try it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I tried it, and that's good enough.
The smell is unique, but it tastes really good. They often say it tastes like heaven and smells like, never mind.
Well, the locals, it's their favorite fruit. It is by far everybody's favorite fruit.
It does have a unique odor, but it tastes fantastic.
Now, they also do a Vietnamese coffee tasting on this day, which is a lot of fun. If any of you are coffee drinkers, particularly coffee lovers, they go through the different types of Vietnamese coffee and the different strengths. I'm a regular coffee drinker. The strengths can get pretty strong, but it's fun, especially if it's something you really enjoy. And another thing they do on this particular day is you get an ice cream party, which who doesn't love an ice cream party? Now, I did mention this briefly, and I'll kind of go over it a little more. We do serve complimentary cocktails with local spirits. And this is 24/7. We don't do this anywhere else. Local beers, we serve 24/7 as well. And as I'd mentioned before, with your lunch and dinner, we're going to have complimentary wines available for you. Now, I have a couple of theories here. One is, hey, we're in Southeast Asia. It is less expensive to serve cocktails 24/7. The other is, you're only in port 3 nights out of the 7-night cruise because there aren't a lot of ports along the Mekong Delta. Sometimes we just have to drop anchor in the middle of the river. And I figure if you can't get off the ship, we'll give you the chance to get drunk. Why not? All right, this is the Saigon Lounge. This is where you will spend most of your time when you're not on excursions and you're not dining. So again, beautiful and luxurious accommodations. On a river cruise, most people don't hang out in their staterooms. It is a very active way to travel because everything is included. All of your excursions, every place you stop, we include everything. So when you're not on an excursion, you're coming back to have your lunch, your breakfast, your dinner, and then in between that, you really want to go up into the lounge and socialize and get to know the other people on board. And it is also where you get to see your evening entertainment. A few nights on the cruise, we are going to bring local performers from the areas that we're in to do a song and dance for our guests. This is a really amazing way to experience the cultures of the places that you're going through. And I have been very fortunate. I've been on a lot of different river cruises. I've been to this part of the world twice. I will tell you the most unique performances I have ever seen on a cruise are on the Mekong Delta. So talking about some of the stops you're going to experience along the way. So you have to forgive me. My pronunciation of some of these places are terrible. Aknati Silk Village. This is a wonderful stop. So this is where you get to see where the silk is made and how they make it. As you can see, they've got a big bowl of silkworms there as well. So they will really go through the process of what they do. And these are actually handmade materials. This is also a silver making village. So you can literally go and see the woman who is making the silver and the gentlemen who are hammering it out, and she's carving the design into it with her hammer and all of her tools. You can walk into her shop and the prices are extraordinary. If you love to bring little knickknacks or gifts home for friends and family, this is one of those perfect places along the way. And I did mention before that the children really make this trip special. They are so happy and excited to see you. They are so joyous. And this part of the world, there is very prevalent poverty, but they don't beg. In Cambodia, I noticed that people just don't beg. They will try to sell you things, but they're not aggressive about it either. It's actually very common for the children to run up with you to you with a little picture that they drew with a crayon on a piece of paper, and they'll hand it to you, and you can take it, or you can give them a quarter or something for it. It doesn't matter to them. But we take you to one of the local schools. The most common question you'll be asked by the children, and this is along the whole trip: what's your name? How old are you? Where are you from? This is how they practice their English. And we get to take you to one of the schools here, and the teacher will have them practice some of their English with our guests who are there to visit with them. Another beautiful and very special experience. You get to experience a Buddhist blessing inside of a monastery. It's very surreal. You feel like you're in a movie scene. And all of these gentlemen sitting here, I have actually sat through this and gone through this blessing, and to really be in the moment, I sat there with my legs crossed, my eyes closed, my head down, and I listened to the chanting. And all of a sudden I felt things hitting me, and it kind of startled me at first. And I realized they were throwing lotus flowers out into the group. So if you do this, just keep in mind that they are going to throw lotus flowers out. Nobody gets hurt. It's just part of the blessing, and it's part of the experience. And actually, depending on the time that we arrive, you might actually be able to go in and feed the Buddhist monks as well. And what they do is they give you a big bowl of rice with a spoon, and the monks walk by with their little bowls with the lids on it, and they open it up, and you give them just a little bit of rice, and this is how they get food each day.
What that's called, Brandon, it's called earning merit. And typically you'll be seated or kneeling. Most people just sit, and they come by with their bowl, and it can be any food. It can be processed food, store-bought food, rice, all of this. but it is typically the monks will eat twice a day, once in the morning and then lunch. And then they don't typically have an evening meal. What you'll also have the chance to do is what's called a novice monk. Without being offensive to anyone, I call it the Buddhist MTC, because it's very typical from age 7 to age 21 that a believing and practicing monk, you become a practicing Buddhist, you become a monk. It's called a novice monk. It's not a monk for life. You can go for a month, you could go for 2 years. Some of the poorer families will actually give their children to the monastery because they can't afford to raise them or feed them. And but it's really about ages 7 or 8 till about age 21, 22. And you can go, you know, the king who just died a few years ago, who was beloved. It is Thailand is a kingdom. Here we're in Cambodia, but it's the same thing. He was king, and at age 18, he became a monk, barefoot, head shaved, and he was the crown prince. But it's an incredible experience. You'll see some of these novice monks who are the ages of your sons or your grandsons, and all of their food is dependent upon people earning merit. We would call blessings. You know, by their fruits ye shall know them. Faith without works is dead. And it's an incredible experience. It's always in the morning too. And if you're interested in that, you let me know, and we'll make sure that we see if we can find it.
That's big. Yeah, and you will see the kids there as monks. Absolutely. For me, this is one of the highlights along the cruise. It's a lot of fun. You actually get to go on an authentic ox cart ride. It's really neat. They'll give you little umbrellas because it's usually sunny. It's in the early part of the afternoon by the time we get there. And you're essentially like a parade going through a small village on a dirt road. All of the locals come out to wave from their homes. A lot of the children will walk beside you from the beginning to the very end just to have a conversation with you, try to get to know you a little bit. And it's just another really beautiful experience along the way. Phnom Penh is a spectacular stop along the way. It is the capital of Cambodia. Used to be the pearl of Southeast Asia prior to the Khmer Rouge. And you get to go on an authentic tuk-tuk ride. That's a lot of fun to zip through town on the tuk-tuk. And we have a few other things in store. Now, one of the things I'll mention about Phnom Penh, we are in port here. You can get on and off the ship throughout the evening, not a problem. Some of our guests like to get off and have dinner in Phnom Penh. Even though dinner is taken care of and included on the ship, some people like to do this because you have some spectacular, very high-end restaurants walking distance from the ship. But one of the highlights of Phnom Penh is you get to visit the Royal Palace. This is still in use to this day. You get to tour the grounds. They even take you to a special room here where you get to see brides and grooms wear 7 different outfits on their wedding days. And they have these in a glass display so that you can see what they go through, and they explain to you what the process is and why they have so many different outfits that they wear on their wedding day. Obviously represents the days of the week. But Phnom Penh has even more in store because some people love to go shopping. When you're done with your city tour, you have the Phnom Penh Central Market. This place is massive. And if you love to bargain when you shop, this is the place to do it. The locals expect it. To not bargain with them it's almost a shame. You've got to do it. And my little tip is if they let you walk away, then you hit that bottom price. And anyone else you go to, they're going to end up at that exact same price. So by the time they let you walk away, that's when you can turn around and actually pick up whatever they're offering you. I'd like to see you barter, Larry.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll be with you, and we'll go the Getaway Guru's Bargaining Skills 101.
Well, obviously there is a more recent history that is very sad in this part of the world. but it is also very important to learn about, and it's still the people who you will see, some of the tour guides you will meet will be able to share some of their personal experiences because this ended in the 70s, and a lot of these people are in their maybe like mid to late 30s, early 40s. But we do go to the Killing Fields and Genocide Museum. You do get to learn about some of the sad history. And Larry, I know that you have some stories that you're going to share at the end of this.
Yeah.
So I won't get too much into this.
I'll share a very touching story at the end. I'll just say about Phnom Penh. It was the Khmer Rouge, 1975 to 1979. Pol Pot was the terrorist leader. Is one of the darkest chapters in humanity. And it is a sobering lesson. It's a must-see. It's an absolute must-see. And it you can feel something when you're, now there were killing fields all over Cambodia, but the big one and the Tuol Sleng genocide prison is there in Phnom Penh. I will tell you one lighthearted story about Phnom Penh. One of the fun things you could do, because we are docked, is take a cyclo ride. It is kind of the reverse of a rickshaw, but you have a seat in front, two wheels, and then the local peddler, I'll call him, it's like on a bicycle, and you sit in front and he just steers you, and you go, what you want to do is go through the old city, and I can show you where all that is, but it's a great experience. So I was there. I always take my people on the cyclo ride on our land tours, and we'll have time to do that if you want to when we're there on the river cruise. But catch this. So we go up, and I'm looking at this, and I say to the man in charge of all the drivers, I said, is the seat for one or two people? He looks at me, he looks at the group, he looks at the cyclo seat, he looks at the group, he looks at the cyclo seat, he turns back to me and says, two Cambodians, one American. We will let that be a comment on our better half, our backside.
Something like this, but in reverse, right?
Yeah, this is a trishaw. The cyclo, the peddler or driver is behind you, and as you can see, one American, but two Cambodians could fit in there, I promise you.
Yep. So this is after we cross over into Tan Chau, and one of the first stops along the way is you get to go on a trishaw ride. This is a lot of fun. This is another big parade. Almost everybody on the ship takes advantage of this. It is amazing to see when you have one guest at a time in this big row of trishaws. It's literally a parade through town.
It's kind of like a snake. You know, I get this comment on Tan Chau. We're now in Vietnam, and it is so famous for silk. And this area is unspoiled by tourism. Now, they have beautiful silks here, but the most famous silk is a jet black, and it's colored with the diospora fruit. Diospora is how it's pronounced there in Vietnam. It's in the family of persimmons, and they use this fruit to dye it a jet black. Well, it's local craftsmen, and what's really nice here is we'll have a chance to mix with the locals. They are so engaged. They want to talk to us. They want to meet us. This Tan Chau is just a great stop.
I agree. It is phenomenal. The trishaw ride is a lot of fun because literally you are going through a pretty bustling city, and everybody is smiling and waving and happy to see us coming through. And we stop here at this craftsman workshop. This is where you're going to, again, learn about the silk making process. But I will tell you, this is, I bring a lot of gifts home for my friends and family. Sometimes I bring a few too many things home for myself. This is the place to bring your credit card because they have a huge silk shop. And there's all kinds of things from ties to purses. My grandma's favorite purse that I ever bought her, that she ever had, I bought here at this shop. They have all kinds of amazing things here. and the prices are mind-blowing. They are the best prices you're going to see anywhere along the way. So again, if you love to shop, which in this part of the world it's so easy to do, you can definitely bring your credit card here. You will not be bartering in this shop. The prices are at a point where you pay for whatever the price is marked on it. The Sadek local market, another stop. This is where you get to walk the streets of a local market, and they sell everything under the sun. I will just preface, you will not see dogs for sale in the local market in Sadek. I have to say this because this question comes up for me quite often. Not in this part of Vietnam. You will not see this, but they have their fresh fruits and their vegetables, anything they can pull out of the Mekong Delta. And I think one of their favorite things is they call it river rabbit. It is actually rat. They eat the rats that they find in the rice fields. They figure they live off of rice. They're clean, they're healthy. So this is something else that you will see as you walk through the market. But the beautiful thing about it is you get to experience a Vietnamese local market.
And I promise you that the rat will not be on the menu on the Amadara. Well, you know, I'll tell you what I like about Sadek. It's a romantic and charming colonial town. There's a lot of there's an old colonial French church there. You know, and of course in Ho Chi Minh City, there's Notre Dame, the old church. But in Sadek, you've got a very colonial architecture, cafes and shops, the local markets. But what they're really famous for are the flower gardens. And you'll have a chance to see some of this. This is some of the best shopping. And remember, we're in November, great time to get our Christmas shopping done. That's great. This is just a great stop.
Oh, it is. It's a phenomenal stop. And this is another really fun stop. Saibai, you get to go to a rice paper workshop. So you get to see how rice paper is actually made, and they will grab somebody from the group to come up and assist, and you'll get to try and make some rice paper as well. You know, the first time I was there, they grabbed me and I botched it. It turned out horrible. She was super nice about it. And then if you have a sweet tooth, right on the other side of the white rice paper workshop, they have it's handmade candy shop. And you literally get to see them puff rice. They take and it's interesting, the way that they puff it is they literally dump it into sand that is over a fire. So they have black sand over a fire. They throw rice in it and it puffs like that. They take it, they dump it through a strainer, and these gentlemen here, you see them mixing either chocolate or strawberry or caramel or durian syrups and sweets into it to essentially make their own version of a Rice Krispie treat. They also have coconut candies, all kinds of other stuff. This is another really great shopping spot. I'll tell you that a lot of guests on board end up bringing gifts, sweets home for their colleagues, friends, family. And again, it's just another really amazing stop along the way. But this is the last stop before we actually get to Ho Chi Minh City, and you would head on with Columbus Travel for their 1 night and 2 days in Ho Chi Minh City.
So with that, let me just talk a little bit about that, then we'll open it up for questions. I talked about experiences. You know, what people want now is experiences, not 12 countries in Europe in 5 days from the inside of a bus. And there is such a premium. Let's just take the cruise. You saw the itinerary. Did you notice how much interaction there is with the locals there and the different experiences that you could have? I'm going to back up to Angkor Wat. This isn't optional. It's priced at just $6.99 for 4 days, 3 nights at a deluxe hotel in Siem Reap. I want to tell you about my guide. I actually told this story 2 weeks ago on my radio show, Bu Tin. I got a text from him last night. He knows that we're having this webinar, and he sends his best regards. That 1975 to 79 era with the Khmer Rouge, how do I say this politely, made Germany in World War II look like a bunch of Sunday school boys. I won't go into the details. We'll do that when we're over there. But we learn about this. So what the Khmer Rouge did was execute almost 1/3 of the entire population of the country. And they took anyone who was educated, school teachers, merchants, doctors, lawyers, anyone who could almost read and write was executed. They wanted to turn the country back to a Middle Age, Stone Age agrarian society. That's what Pol Pot was determined to do. Bhutan, his parents were teachers. The guerrillas come to their village one day, and he's 12 years old. And in his presence, boom, boom, shoot his parents. They literally put a gun to this boy's head who was just sobbing, seeing his parents executed, and said, "You will be a guerrilla, you will join us, or we will shoot you." He had no choice. He said, and if you tried to escape, you weren't just put to death. It was a slow death that usually would take 1 to 2 weeks of slow torture in front of everybody as a deterrent. He was a guerrilla for 4 years, and then the guerrilla camp moved near the Thai border. Now, I asked him, how many firefights, that's gun battles, were you in? He said, I don't know. As he put it, much more than 50. This is age 12 to 16. He had to plant those anti-personnel landmines that they put everywhere. But, and you know, it's, even today, there's still a problem in some outlying areas with those. But one day, he and his buddy, his friend, also 16, decided to escape. And they had to walk across minefields, and they made it. They lived in the jungle for 6 months, eating snakes, bugs, mice, rats, anything that they could find, usually uncooked, because they didn't dare light a fire. He told me at one point they were so hungry, they were stripping bark off trees and just chewing it. Finally, they made it into Thailand. They were put in a refugee camp. He met his future wife there, who was also a Cambodian refugee. Later, they were returned to Cambodia after the Khmer Rouge was displaced and Pol Pot was dead. He's now in his 40s, late 40s, 50, early 50s. And there is a peace and serenity about him that is hard to describe, but you feel it. And I always say to him, he's been my guide for 15 plus years. And I always ask him, I say, Bhutan, if you feel up to it, would you tell your story? And he goes through much more detail. And we usually go out to the Bang Malaya temple. It's kind of an old collapsed temple in the jungle. We're by ourselves. And he will tell the story, and he weeps. I don't mean cries. He just chokes on his tears after all these years of the pain that it went through. And my wife, Kathy, asked him, he said, Bhutan, how is it that you have such peace and serenity? And he said, Kathy, it's a choice. Life is a choice, and I choose to be at peace with my past, which was against his will. Well, he's never been outside of Cambodia or Thailand. I asked him once, Bhutan, you've never seen snow? Because we were over there in the wintertime. I showed him pictures of our house with 3 feet of snow. And he says, no, I've seen pictures. Well, on our next trip, Kathy went out and bought a snow globe. You know, you shake it and the snow whirls around, and gave it to him. He was visibly moved. And every time we see him, he says, Kun Larry. Kun means like Mr. Larry. That's a proper way. You'd be Kun Brandon or Kun Brent or Kun Craig. I'm Kun Larry. He'd say, oh, Kun Larry, it is snowing in our house. And they have a entire house that's probably, I've seen it, been there. That's probably smaller than your living room. It's cinder block, corrugated iron, tin roof, no air conditioning. He has won all sorts of awards as a guide. Well, these are the type of experiences. We do something in Siem Reap that I don't see other groups do. We go to the Fade Circus. Now, it's not Barnum and Bailey. It is a Cirque du Soleil. It's an hour presentation, but here's who makes it. Orphans and street children who've been brought into this school through secondary, kindergarten through secondary school. They live in dormitories. And also graduates who are in their early 20s. And it's a Cirque du Soleil experience that tells a story. We go one evening to a private theater for an evening of Khmer music and classical dance with a Khmer meal that is as good a food as you'll ever have. Well, we go out to the Tale Sop Lake. We're out on boats, and there's a city in the middle of this monstrous lake. You can't even see the other side, that's on reeds, and it floats. And we'll visit the people there. In Bangkok, of course, the Grand Palace. You'll take pictures of the Grand Palace, and when you go home, there's such an explosion of colors that you'll show pictures to your friends. You'll say, no, even the high definition photography does not capture the colors. We'll see the Emerald Buddha. Go down to Wat Po, the famous gold reclining Buddha. And I'm going to take you to lunch at one of my favorite restaurants in Bangkok, Supatra, right on the Chao Phraya River, for a meal that you'll never forget. So there'll be opportunities to go jungle bike riding, a food walking tour. We will take you to safe restaurants in old Bangkok and safe food carts. We'll have an opportunity for a cooking class. I've done all these. They're fantastic. In Vietnam, that one day we spend there is enough to see it. And we just see the whole city. One of the most interesting it's called the War Memorial Museum. The nickname is the American War Museum. We call it the Vietnam War. They call it the American War. And it's the war from their perspective. And I always tell people, gird up your loins. History is always told by the two different sides. Remember, I buried my heart at Wounded Knee. That's a very different story than the U.S. Cavalry. So we do all of these things. Transfers are included, deluxe 5-star hotels, breakfast daily, and some other meals. I hope that you'll join the cruise. And I'll tell you, I don't want to be a Paul Revere, like, the end is here, there are no more cabins. But I do know, Brandon, that space now is limited on this sailing.
Yes.
So, everybody make their own informed decision. I'm not telling you have to do it tonight. I am telling you that space is limited. I had a woman call me today in the cabin category. They wanted to book. The cabin category she wanted was sold out. So we had to look at a different category. It is an incredible, incredible experience. You will feel something when you're there. And so I hope it works out that you could join me in Bangkok and in Cambodia, or you may just want to do the cruise alone. Those are the comments I have. If you don't have any, Brandon, we could open it up for questions.
Yeah, I just want to kind of confirm what you said. You will have some incredible experiences. The tour guides that we use will share their personal experiences because they also survived the Khmer Rouge. And it's really incredible to see the peace that they have in their lives after they've experienced something so horrible. And just to confirm it is a life-changing and really an amazing experience. I know that there's some difficult things, but there's many, many more beautiful things that you'll see while you're on this.
Yeah. By the way, on the cruise, all the tours or shore excursions are included.
All of them.
Gratuities or not, that's at your own discretion. The same with the optional tours. Gratuities to the local guides are optional and at your discretion. So if we have questions, can they type it in the chat or just unmute themselves or what?
I have set this up so that everybody is able to unmute themselves. So if you have questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question.
We got about 10 minutes.
I have a question. It's just on currency. Like when we're in the shops bartering, are we using American currency or do we have to put that into some other foreign currency?
You just
Great
bring your
question,
own US
Greg.
dollars.
In Thailand, it's the Thai baht, and there's about 31 baht to the dollar. You can change it anywhere. In Cambodia and Vietnam, US dollars. Now, people will say, hey, change your money into the local. Don't do it. You don't need it. But one thing about the bills over there, they don't have to be brand new, but they got to be in good shape. If they're torn or frayed or have a stamp or somebody has written something on it, they can't take it. In fact, my guides, I have, like Kat is my main guide, K-A-T, in Thailand. She's been with me for 20 years. And I've got some others, Tuk and some others. But Kat, the guides, whenever I go over there, they're so polite. Someone will give them a gratuity for a tour, and it's in a worn or frayed bill. They won't say anything. But they save up all those worn, torn, and printed bills. And when Larry comes, I always take a whole bunch of money with me, and I take all their old bills and just give them new bills. Now, it doesn't have to be new, but they have to be in good shape. US dollars, Vietnam, Cambodia, US dollars, Thai baht in Thailand.
And Larry, I'll tell you, my wife and I, when we go to the bank, we actually ask them for good bills before we go over. And we look at everything they give us to make sure that we know that it's acceptable. And the bankers, my wife and I met in the banking industry. They're more than happy to work with you to make sure you have what you need.
Wasn't that a lot of fun? I sure hope you've enjoyed my Mekong webinar as much as I've enjoyed sharing with you the Legends of Siam, the mighty Mekong, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Now, I did mention that I was co-hosting the webinar with AmaWaterways. They're my #1 favorite 5-star over-the-top deluxe river cruise company. Now, in addition to the Mekong, AmaWaterways operates cruises in Africa, Egypt, and most of their sailings are throughout the rivers of Europe. Now, back to the Mekong, the AmaWaterways does offer Mekong cruises throughout the year. But the very best time to go, this is when you want to visit, is November to February. You can even stretch that into early March. The weather is better. Everything about the experience is better. This is kind of trust Larry time of when you want to go. Now, as was noted in the webinar, I will be personally hosting one or more Mekong River cruises and visiting Thailand, Cambodia, Angkor Wat, and Vietnam. I'd love to have you come with me. If you want to find out what dates I will be taking, give us a call or contact us at Columbus Travel. Now, in the descriptions below, there's a link to Columbus Travel. It'll take you right to our website. And remember, if you are new to my website, please remember the big 3. Subscribe, turn on the notifications so that when I post a new video, you'll get a notice of it, and please give me a thumbs up. So back to the Mekong, the Legends of Siam, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Contact us at Columbus Travel for special discounts and promotions and all the details pre and post travel with that. So for the best travel deals on the planet, what are you going to do? You're going to call us at Columbus Travel, 800-373-3328, or online at columbusvacations.com. And in all your comings and goings and all your doings, stay healthy, stay safe, happy traveling.